What's the worst date you've ever been on?
Story 1. Finally, a place to tell this story. I had a really disappointing date in high school. It was the middle of winter, around minus 40 degrees Celsius. We went to a movie, and the whole thing was painfully awkward. She didn't seem to want to be there at all, totally detached. After the movie and the bus ride home, she admitted that the only reason she agreed to go out with me was because my friend had turned her down a few days earlier. I hadn't known that at the time. It was a pretty big letdown and a total waste of time. Still, I figured whatever. I'd just go home, do something else, and get over it eventually. When I got off the bus, I just wanted to get home as fast as possible. There was a thigh-high railing around the edge of a nearby parking lot, and instead of walking around it, I decided to step onto it and then over it. The second I stepped on it, I realized it was coated in ice. I slipped and flipped through the air like a cartoon character, lost everything in my pockets, tore my pants from the back all the way to the zipper, and came down hard on the railing with my shin, fracturing it. It was still minus 40 degrees Celsius, and I couldn't just lie there waiting for help. So I dug around in the snow, grabbed my stuff, tried to tuck myself back into my pants, and limped home. Story 2. I went on an online date with this guy when I first moved back home from college. We met up, and I have this habit of just telling my mom, "I'm going out, I'll be back later," without giving any specifics. This time, she said, "Just be careful, and if you can't drive, get out of the car." We were on our way to our first destination, but it turned out to be closed. So he asked me where I wanted to go, and I said, "Hooters and bowling." I know, real classy, right? His driving was awful. Like, truly terrible. We ended up driving clear across town because he wanted to take me to some other place. By this point, I had already decided I wasn't into him and just wanted the night to end. Still, I figured I'd go along with it. Maybe we could at least be friends. Then his brakes gave out, and we got into an accident. We slammed into the back of a truck hard, and I lurched forward, my glasses flying off. Once the smoke cleared, I started laughing. I do that when I'm nervous. He asked if I was okay, and I said sure while looking for my glasses. Then he said, "Oh, this is bad. Really bad." So I asked, "Why?" "No insurance." And he goes, "No, I have a warrant for my arrest." Then he got out of the car and ran. As he's sprinting off into the sunset, he yells back, "I'm really sorry. I can't afford to go to jail again." The person we hit just drove off, leaving me there alone when the police showed up. I had to call my mom to pick me up since I didn't know anyone in the area. Of course, I gave the cops his info. They gave me a ride to a gas station across the street while I waited, and I leaned back, took a selfie in the cop car, posted it on Facebook, and tagged him. Somewhere between running away and hiding, he apparently found time to get on Facebook and block me. The worst part? Not just the accident. I didn't even get to enjoy my Hooters wings. Story 3. I was walking down the street, finishing a call on my old, beat-up flip phone. Just as I was hanging up, wham! I ran straight into someone and dropped my phone. I apologized, picked it up, and went back to work. About 10 minutes later, I got a call. "Hey, I think we switched phones by accident." Turns out the girl I'd bumped into had the exact same phone as me. We agreed to meet at a local coffee shop after work to swap them back. When I got there, I saw this really cute redhead in a suit dress. We talked for a bit. She worked at a bank, had similar interests, and seemed genuinely cool. Before we left, she said she'd love to grab dinner that weekend. Perfect. Saturday evening rolls around, and I head over to pick her up. Out walks a girl who looks a lot like my date, except instead of office clothes, she's wearing 4-inch platform boots, fishnet stockings, a corset-like top, and has spiky hair. Normally I don't care about people's style, but I was a little surprised. Still, who cares? I get out, open the door for her, and we start chatting. The banter's great. She's funny, sharp, and seems to totally get my humor. She asks what the plan is for the night, and I joke, "I'm taking you to my favorite high-class dining establishment, McDonald's. And if you play your cards right, I might even supersize it." She laughs and fires back a better joke. She might have wild fashion sense, but this girl seems awesome. We pull up to a nice pub in town, and I park the car. She looks confused and asks, "What about McDonald's?" I laugh, thinking she's joking, but she looks genuinely puzzled. We go inside, order food, and I grab a scotch while she orders the biggest glass boot of Bud Light I've ever seen. The waiter takes our order and walks away. Then she leans toward me and says, way too loudly, I can't believe they let his kind into a classy place like this. We should probably check our food for spit before we eat. Our waiter was black. I froze. She kept whispering awful comments about white superiority while downing an impressive and horrifying amount of beer. When dinner came, she actually inspected her plate for saliva. The waiter and I made eye contact, and I think he knew I agreed with him that this woman was out of her mind. 3 boots of beer later, she went to the bathroom, and I paid the check. I apologized to the waiter, who was incredibly chill about it. Don't worry, man, there are all kinds of people in this world. When she came back, we left. As soon as we got in my car, she lit a cigarette, without even rolling down the window, and said, "We should go shooting out at my dad's farm. What's your favorite gun?" I told her I wasn't really into that, and said it was getting late. When I dropped her off, she smiled and said, "That was great, except for that rude waiter. Next time we'll definitely get that Big Mac. See you soon." I drove off like I was escaping a horror movie. Story 4. This happened to my cousin. Not me, my cousin, and I swear I'll tell this story until the day I die. At the time, she and I were living together. She worked at a tanning salon, and she started mentioning this guy, Vaughn, who came in a lot. She said he was really hot and always flirted with her. After about 2 weeks of flirty back and forth, he finally asked her out. The night of the date, she came home, got all dressed up, and looked amazing. I wished her luck and told her, "Please call me if you decide to stay over, just so I know you're safe." She's a few years younger than me, and I didn't know this guy at all. About 5 hours later, I get a call from her. She's hysterical, crying so hard I can barely understand her. All I can make out is, "I'm at the hospital. My car's at some address. Please go get it, and then come pick me up." So my boyfriend and I go get her car, drop it off at our place, and then he decides to grab a couple of his buddies on the way, because from the sound of it, someone might be getting their ass kicked. We had no idea what was happening. When we get to the hospital, she's outside, shivering. A guy is standing nearby, not beside her, but close, looking worried. She looks absolutely wrecked. She jumps in our car and screams, "Just drive." I turn to the guy and ask, "Are you Vaughn?" He looks like he's about to cry and says, "Yes. Please don't be mad. I brought her here. I had to. She didn't want me to. Please, let me explain." My cousin's in the back seat, punching my seat and crying, "Please go." I tell him, I don't have time to listen. She wants to go home. I need to take care of her. Then we drive off. I keep asking what the hell happened. Did he hurt you? Do we need to call the police? And she says, "No, please. Nothing like that. I'll tell you at home, not in front of other people." So I let it go for now, even though I'm dying to know. We get home. I tuck her into bed, make her some tea, and try to calm her down. Every time she tries to talk, she just breaks down crying. Finally, she manages to tell me what happened. After leaving the house, she met him at his place. They had coffee, chatted a bit, and he asked what she wanted to do. She suggested a movie, and he said sure, they'd go to Blockbuster. So they go, pick a movie, and while they're at the counter, she suddenly doesn't feel well, then blacks out. Vaughn told her she passed out and hit her head on the counter. He begged her to go to the hospital, but she said she was fine and insisted they just go back to his place to watch the movie. They get back, and he keeps asking if she's okay and if she'll please reconsider going to the hospital. She keeps saying no. The next thing she remembers is suddenly waking up, feeling like she's about to both vomit and, well, the other thing. She doesn't know the layout of his house, so she starts crawling on the floor, dizzy and panicking, asking where the bathroom is. Vaughn tries to help her up, but before she can get there, she throws up all over the floor, all over him, and realizes she's also had an accident in her pants. At this point, she's crying uncontrollably, but she said Vaughn was so kind. He didn't even care. He helped her to the bathroom so she could finish, but she didn't quite make it to the toilet and, in her panic, ended up, well, painting the walls. He gently closed the door and said, "Pass me your clothes. I'll find something for you to wear." She did, and once she'd stopped throwing up, she finally agreed to go to the hospital. He drove her there, and that's when she called me. As she's telling me all this, I'm laughing so hard I'm crying, rubbing her head, and asking if this is a joke. It wasn't, because they ended up getting married. And yes, we still bring this story up at least once a year. Story 5. One time, I went on an OkCupid date, and everything seemed perfectly normal until the very end. She was a cute blonde girl who shared a few of my interests. We made each other laugh and chat, so I asked if she wanted to meet up, and she agreed. We met at the Elephant and Castle in San Francisco, a popular bar with enough space for private conversations. I was kind of nervous and didn't plan on drinking because I was on medication, but she called me out for it, so I ordered what she ordered, a pear cider. We went upstairs and started talking nervously. It was a bit awkward at first, but we both loosened up quickly. She had a darker sense of humor than I expected, joking about stuff like burned bodies being found on the side of the road. And honestly, I found it funny too, so I played along. Everything was going smoothly. We were laughing, teasing each other a little, and it all felt easy and natural. I actually started to like her. She even touched my arm playfully, and for a moment, it felt like one of those rare dates that might actually go somewhere. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, no weird comment, no phone call, no visible emotion, she just stood up and walked away. Fast. I was so confused that I thought maybe I'd missed something she said, so I followed her through the crowded bar as she sped up. She never looked back or acknowledged me, just kept heading straight for the door. I thought maybe she was having a panic attack or needed air, but when we got outside, she looked totally fine, just walking away briskly. I finally called out, "Hey, wait a moment." She turned around with this completely blank look, like she didn't even recognize me, and said, "Yes?" I stammered, that was kind of sudden. I just wanted to say goodbye. Maybe we can shake hands or something." I tried to make a light joke, but it came out awkward. She said, "Why?" then half-heartedly stuck out her hand. I shook it, and she immediately turned and hurried off again. I just stood there, staring after her, trying to figure out what had just happened. I kept replaying the whole date in my head, wondering what I'd said wrong, feeling like I must have done something terrible without realizing it. What I didn't notice at first was that there was this massive crowd of people smoking outside the bar, like 50 of them, right around where we were standing. After she left, I suddenly started hearing laughter and realized they were all making jokes about me. Then one tall guy, smoking a clove cigarette, shouted, "Ah, damn, Romeo. You messed that one up. Look how fast that girl's walking away." And the entire crowd burst out laughing. I was so stunned, twice over, that I just turned and walked slowly toward the BART station. As I was leaving, I heard that same guy yell, "Aw man, did I hurt that dude's feelings? Sorry, brother." It's not the worst date I've ever been on, but it's definitely one I still think about sometimes when I'm in the shower feeling down. Story 6. I was at a pretty good-sized house party in college when the host introduced me to his lab mate not long after I arrived. We started talking while the party was still warming up. No one was drunk yet, and people were still trickling in. He was okay looking, a little dull, but seemed harmless. Eventually, he asked for my number, and I figured, why not? It's college. Half of what you do is make bad decisions with strangers. He disappeared shortly after, and I didn't think much of it since the house was big enough for people to wander. The party went on until around 3 a.m., when the booze finally ran out. The next morning, around 8:30 a.m., my phone rang. Barely awake, and maybe still a bit drunk, I answered like an idiot. It was him. He asked me out for a nice steak dinner and church that evening. Wanting to end the call and go back to sleep, I agreed to whatever he said without processing it. When I woke up around noon, I had only a vague memory of the conversation. A few hours later, he called again asking for my address so he could pick me up. Suddenly, it all came rushing back. Regretting my life choices but still mildly curious about the steak, I showered, did my makeup, dressed nicely, and headed to the garage to meet him. He showed up dressed just shy of sloppy, but I figured, hey, he's a grad student. Maybe that's the look. As we drove, he kept flipping through songs on his iPod, mostly Elvis, and never let one finish. Sometimes he even restarted the same song multiple times. I heard the first minute of Hound Dog more times than I care to remember. Then he casually mentioned he didn't even like music. The iPod was his dad's from a road trip. It was a 64 gigabytes model, which was expensive back then, but somehow only had around 100 songs on it. Weird, but okay. As the ride went on, it became clear this guy didn't like anything. Couldn't name a book he'd read since high school. Didn't watch TV except for occasionally lurking while his roommates watched Fawlty Towers, which he said he didn't get. Didn't have a favorite movie. When I asked, he said, "I like everything," and then named Titanic. Didn't play video games. Didn't even know Harry Potter was a book before the movie. His favorite food? Taco Bell. I started to realize I was in trouble. We headed to a nice part of town, passing several good restaurants. I asked where we were going, and he said, "Oh, you'll see." Trying to make small talk, I asked why he left the party so early. He said, completely serious, "My bedtime is 10:30 p.m. sharp every night." I asked if that's why he called me so early, and he looked surprised. He thought he'd given me plenty of time to sleep in. Then, without warning, he turned into a Denny's parking lot. I was overdressed, but I tried to play it cool. I figured, hey, he promised steak, so I was getting one, even if it was the worst, gristliest cut in town. Then he asked, all smiles, if I'd be okay splitting the meal. I wanted to crawl under the table, but I agreed to be polite, telling myself I'd just eat something decent later. We shared the steak, tragically mediocre, and then he announced the next stop, church. It was a Saturday night, young adult service, with contemporary music, basically a place for devout 20-somethings to hang out instead of doing, normal college stuff. There was free coffee and stale donuts. As the band started, a group of people jumped up on the pews, bouncing and belting out lyrics at full volume. My date was clapping, smiling, waving his arms in the air, totally into it. Meanwhile, I was dying inside. Then came a sermon about keeping yourself pure, and I felt my soul leave my body. He was nodding along, grunting in agreement like the preacher was revealing the secrets of the universe. I sat there wondering if he'd brought me here to save me from my sinful ways. The night could have gone worse, but thankfully he didn't ask what I thought of the service. Maybe he noticed the sheer horror on my face. He dropped me off afterward without incident. When I walked in, my roommates immediately asked how it went. All I could say was, well, let me tell you a story. Story 7. This is hands down the worst date I've ever been on, and honestly, the worst any of my friends have ever heard about. When it started going bad, I didn't realize that was just the warm-up. It was 2003. I was at home when I got a random phone call. I didn't even own a cell back then. On the other end was a woman. Let's call her Melissa. She said she'd gotten my number from a mutual friend who thought we'd hit it off. It was a strange call, but I was single and figured, why not? We ended up talking for over an hour. She dropped hints about what she looked like, mentioned that she'd seen pictures of me and thought I was cute, bonus points. She also brought up her bra size more than once. Okay, not exactly subtle, but I wasn't complaining. We set a date for Saturday, 2 days away. I lived in the city, and she lived in the suburbs, meaning she'd have to take a train and then a bus, about a 2-hour trip. I had no idea what she looked like beyond brown hair and big boobs. I got to our meeting spot early. Then I saw a girl stumbling down the street, baggy goth jeans dragging on the ground, way too much makeup. Yep, that was Melissa. Turns out she'd been nervous about the blind date and had picked up a bottle for the train ride, then another for the bus. By the time I met her, she was already 2 bottles in and very obviously drunk. The second she saw me, her tipsy excitement hit another level. She threw herself on me in a sloppy hug, complete with a butt grab. I was instantly a mix of confused, alarmed, and deeply regretting my life choices. I had planned to take her to a nice downtown pool hall, kind of trendy, casual date stuff. She was all for it, as long as they served alcohol. At the pool hall, the waitress sat us down and asked if we wanted drinks. Before I could answer, Melissa said, 4 shots of tequila and a pint of beer. I said, wow, okay, tequila? I'm not usually a fan, but, and she cut me off. Oh, did you want tequila too? Yeah, all 4 were for her. It was barely 3 p.m. The drinks came, and she downed them one after another, then chugged the beer. When she finished, she wiped the foam off her mouth with the back of her hand and gave me this look, the kind that screams something bad is about to happen. She sauntered over while I was lining up a shot and leaned over me, whispering, "You can take me right now. We can go to the bathroom if you want." I missed my shot, partly because her hand was now creeping toward my crotch. Trying to keep things from escalating, I laughed it off and said, "Maybe we finish the game first." She sighed, grabbed the cue, and took her turn, sort of. She barely grazed the ball, then, in frustration, threw the cue across the table. It tore a massive rip in the felt. She found this hilarious and started cackling like a hyena. I told her I needed to use the bathroom and walked off, partly to escape, partly to figure out how the hell I'd gotten into this. I locked myself in a stall, put my head in my hands, and asked the universe what life choices had led me here. Then I heard yelling and breaking glass outside. I came out to find Melissa in a shouting match with the bartender. Apparently, she'd decided to make the tear in the pool table worse, for fun. The bartender wasn't amused. She saw me and started ranting about how these people don't get her humor. I tried to calm her down and suggested we go somewhere else. Miraculously, she agreed. At this point, I figured the night was already ruined, so I might as well just ride it out. I bought a case of beer and suggested we hang out at the beach near the train station until her bus. I reminded her repeatedly that she needed to catch that bus, didn't want her stranded in town. She agreed, sort of. We spent the next few hours drinking on the beach. Well, she did most of the drinking, while she kept trying to grope me. Around 6:30 p.m., I was tipsy and ready to end this disaster. It was time for her bus. She was sluggish, dragging her feet, and clearly didn't want to leave. I practically guided her by the elbow to the station, paid for her ticket because she was broke, and watched as the bus driver took it. But instead of getting on, she turned, looked at me, and immediately vomited all over the bus steps. The driver yelled, pushed her back, and drove off without her. She wiped her mouth, smiled weakly, and said, "Well, looks like we can hang out a little longer." I didn't even try to hide my disappointment. She told me she had nowhere to go and suggested she could stay with me. "We could have some fun," she said. I was angry, but also didn't want to abandon her completely drunk and stranded. So, reluctantly, I said she could crash on my couch. When we got to my apartment, my cousin saw us walk in, took one look at her, and ran to his room laughing. "Thanks, man." We watched TV while finishing the last beers from my fridge. I eventually said I was calling it a night, gave her some blankets, and told her the couch was hers. She thanked me and lay down. Sometime during the night, I woke up feeling like I was being crushed. Melissa was on top of me, fully clothed, hovering inches from my face. "I couldn't sleep," she said. I told her to get off me, which she did, then asked if she could sleep in my bed. Wordlessly, I got up, made a makeshift bed on the floor next to mine, and pointed to it. She lay down, still wearing her shoes. When daylight came, I wasted no time getting her back to the bus station. No small talk this time, just, "Here's your bus, don't puke, goodbye." Later, I called the mutual friend who supposedly set us up and chewed her out for introducing me to this nightmare. She was completely confused, had no idea who I was talking about. I described Melissa, and after a pause, she said, "Oh my God, that makes sense now." Turns out her out-of-town friend had brought along her cousin, who was high-functioning but had special needs, and her mother was in the process of transferring her to a group home nearby. While visiting, Melissa had apparently gone through my friend's stuff, found a photo of me with my number on the back, and decided to call me herself. So yeah, I unknowingly went on a date with a mentally disabled woman who got drunk, destroyed a pool table, and vomited on public transportation. Story 8. I joined a dating website just to go on more dates. That was my only goal. I'd been working nonstop for 2 years at my new job and wanted to have a little fun again. I got an email from a girl, and we set up a date. It was my 5th date from the site, and so far, they'd all been fun. But this one felt different right away. When I met her at the restaurant, it was one of those love at first sight moments. She was perfect, everything I could ever want physically, and her personality seemed like a 10 to 10. We sat down and started talking. Half an hour passed, and we hadn't even ordered yet because the conversation was flowing so naturally. The chemistry felt unreal, like the kind you only get once in life. Then she suggested we skip ordering food because she had a better idea. She wouldn't say what, but I like surprises, so I went along with it. We got in my car and drove about 20 minutes to another restaurant up a mountain near a ski resort. I knew the area, so I didn't think much of it. We walked in, and immediately, I realized something was off. The place was packed with her entire family, around 40 people, celebrating her aunt's birthday. Everyone knew she was out on a first date. As soon as they saw us, people were asking things like, "Is this the guy? Is this your date? Is he the one?" Suddenly, I went from cool and confident to internally panicking. Everyone was nice, really nice, but it was high pressure like I'd never experienced. I was seated and immediately surrounded by her older sister, her aunt, and some other relative, all asking questions. Her mom tried to defend me and tell them to relax, but the interrogation continued. After what felt like an eternity, They turned to my date and jokingly said, "We approve." I tried to laugh along, but I was sweating bullets. Then her sister handed me her little girl and started taking pictures of me holding her, and then someone else's baby boy, too. Everyone was laughing and taking photos. I started to feel like I wasn't on a date anymore. I was meeting my in-laws after a shotgun wedding. After about 3 hours, things were winding down, but her car was still at the first restaurant down the hill. Just when I thought it was finally over, her dad, smiling but serious, asked me what my intentions were with his daughter. The whole table went quiet and turned to look at me. By that point, I was completely drained. He repeated the question, and my date told him to stop, but he just grinned and said he was curious. I looked at her and said, "Can I talk to you alone for a minute?" He laughed and said, "I made him nervous." The whole table erupted in laughter. I tried again. "Hey, can I talk to you alone for a minute?" But before I could even stand up properly, her sister said, "Oh, there are no secrets in this family. Speak your mind." Everyone laughed again. Another man, maybe her uncle, said, "When I was in your shoes, I just spoke my truth, buddy. That's the best thing you can do right now." Then my date said, half jokingly, "You can tell me anything here. We're all family." At that point, I completely lost track of whether anyone was joking or serious. Her dad said again, "So? I still haven't heard your answer." I took a deep breath and said, "I'd like to discuss that with her first." Unfortunately, I laughed nervously while saying it. Big mistake. Her dad smirked and said, "I asked you first, son." My date looked at me and said, "Go ahead, I can handle it." So I did. I sat back down, took a breath, and started talking. I think I made a huge mistake. Everything went downhill from there. I said things I absolutely shouldn't have, that it felt like I was having a bad dream where I was suddenly married, that I didn't understand why she'd bring me to meet her whole family on a first date, that I felt completely blindsided. I even said, "I know your aunt better than I know you right now," which, yeah, brutal. People started chiming in, trying to smooth things over, suggesting we slow down and have a proper first date later. But I was past the point of calm reasoning. I said, "No, it's too late for that. I feel robbed. I wanted to meet this girl, get to know her, maybe fall for her naturally. But instead, I skipped straight to being engaged with a family full of expectations." Then I made it worse. I said, "It's a huge red flag that I asked for a minute alone with you to talk, and this is what I got instead." I added, "You're all wonderful people, but the lack of boundaries here is a massive red flag. I would never let my relationship become family business." That's when my date, clearly shaken, interrupted and said, "Okay, let's go outside and talk privately. I'm sorry I didn't give you that minute before. Let's talk." Her eyes were filling with tears. I realized I'd just insulted not only her, but every single person there. I didn't say another word. I just quietly stood up and walked out. They were all genuinely nice people who meant well. They were trying to include me and make me feel welcome, and I took it completely the wrong way. I didn't drink a drop that night, but I still managed to turn what could have been a funny story into one of the most painfully awkward nights of my life. Story 9. I recently had a date that started as the best of my life and ended up being the worst. I met this girl on OkCupid. We started chatting on a Sunday, and right away it was great. We were both huge nerds, loved games, MMOs, D&D, Friday Night Magic, all that. She was attractive too. Honestly, one of the prettiest girls who'd ever talked to me on that site. We exchanged numbers and texted for about an hour about all things nerdy. Then she said her phone was dying and her plan was expiring that night. So she gave me her Facebook to keep chatting there since she still had Wi-Fi. We talked for 7 hours, until 4 a.m. I took a short break to watch True Blood, and she told me she loved that show and that she was basically Sookie in real life. I asked why, and she said, "Because I'm sort of telepathic and can read people's emotions and thoughts." Red flag number 1. Then she asked if she could come over and watch True Blood with me. My roommates and I had just finished a weekend LAN party, and were all still unshowered and disgusting. I told her that, thinking it would scare her off. She said, "I have an acquired taste for nerd funk. I won't shower either, so I fit in." Red flag number 2. She kept saying how fun it would be to make my roommates jealous, talking about showing up, all tattoos, size 0, suicide girled out. Red flag number 3. When I asked if she drank, she said she used to, but only drinks at home. Never around men. Never takes her eyes off her drink once it's opened. She mentioned maybe talking to her therapist, red flag number 4, so she could drink with me, and hinted at PTSD, red flag number 5. I assumed she'd had something traumatic happen, maybe involving her drink being spiked, and I didn't pry. Then she suddenly accused me of being the kind of guy who might hit her after a few beers, since her ex-husband started that way. Red flags hashtag 6, 8. Then she casually dropped, "I wreck guys. I've done porn." Red flag number 9. She told me about her old Suicide Girls, type, modeling, and 3 unreleased scenes for Naughty America that she got pulled down thanks to her lawyer. "Oh, and I love anal," she added. Red flag number 10. At this point, I was half convinced she wasn't real. The next day, we kept chatting while I was at work. She brought up drugs, said she only did weed and shrooms. Red flag number 11. But then admitted she'd also tried heroin, meth, cocaine, and acid, yet still called my friends stupid for experimenting. Red flag number 12. She said she only dates guys who smoke weed daily and promised to peer pressure me into it with research studies only she had access to. Red flag number 13. When I disagreed, she spiraled into an anxiety attack and demanded I stop talking to her right now. Red flag number 14. A few hours later, she messaged again, saying her PTSD got triggered, but she was fine now and really liked me. She said if we hadn't argued, she would have let me wear her like a hat. Red flag number 15. Soon after, she said she didn't want to sound clingy, but needed to see me immediately and wanted to bring me lunch at work. Big no. Red flag number 16. Eventually, I agreed to meet her that night. I suggested Guardians of the Galaxy. She loved the idea, so I bought tickets for 9:30 p.m. She wanted to meet at 7 at a nerdy toy shop in the mall. When I got there, she actually looked like her pictures. Cute, tattooed, total nerd. She was talking to the store clerk, but immediately turned away from him when I walked in and started looking at toys with me. She complained that the guy had been hitting on her and was so glad I arrived because people always hit on me in public. Red flag number 17. We browsed the store, and she kept asking if I'd buy her little things. Red flag number 18. Then she latched onto me physically, holding my hand, hanging on my arm, leaning on me, within minutes of meeting. Sweet but intense. In every store we went into, she pointed at stuff and said, "Will you buy this? It's so cute." Red flag number 19. At one shop, she even exchanged numbers with the cashier, saying she was new in town and looking for friends, and introduced me as her boyfriend. Red flag number 20. Moments later, she told me she almost punched a store employee for looking sorry for her. Like, poor girl, stuck with that guy. Then she said she didn't need another assault charge. Red flag number 21. We still had time before the movie, so she said we should go to her favorite spot. Her car was filthy, looked like someone had been living in it. Red flag number 22. On the way to a nearby lake, she pointed at a neighborhood and said she lived there, even though she told me earlier she lived on the opposite side of town. Red flag number 23. At the lake, she told me wild stories, that she'd been tricked into doing tech work for the MS-13 gang, that her foot tattoo was a gang property mark, and that she'd gotten out of that life. Red flag number 24. She also said her dad was Irish, her mom half Persian and half black, which somehow made her Hispanic. Red flag number 25. Later, I looked up the college where she said her mom worked. Her mom was white as snow. Red flag number 26. She claimed she hadn't spoken to her parents in 5 years, then said she'd just visited them a few weeks earlier. Red flag number 27. We killed time at Target, where she again asked me to buy random things. Red flag number 28. On the way back, she kept calling me adorable, perfect, her ideal guy. Sweet, but also way too much. During the movie, she showed me a tattoo below her underwear line. Just pulled her pants and panties down right there. Red flag number 29. She kept putting my hand up her thigh and biting my shoulder playfully. After the movie, she refused to get in my car because she never rides with anyone else, but insisted on driving me to mine. On the walk to her car, she told me she'd once been forced to shoot someone while in the gang, though earlier she said she'd never held a gun. Red flag number 30. Then she bragged about her shoplifting past with an red flag number 31. She dropped me off, kissed me, told me she had to go to the other side of town to do laundry at a friend's place because her apartment didn't have a washer or dryer at midnight. Red flag number 32. Later that night, She messaged me saying her computer had been DDoSed by her hacker ex-husband and that her bank account was drained, possibly by her father, who she shared the account with, because she wouldn't release her mental health records. Red flags number 33 and number 34. The next day, she told me she'd had an amazing time and wanted to hang out constantly. Come to my RPG nights, board game nights, watch GOT, and True Blood, everything. She said she cared about hearts, not parts, and found me so hot. Later that day, though, her OkCupid account vanished. She texted me with a new number asking what I was up to. I told her I was going to lunch. She said, "Me too. What are you having?" Then after a pause she said, "We just had Taco Bell. I have to tell you, I met someone last night. I'm seeing them now. We can't go on any more dates." Apparently, she'd reconnected with a guy from high school she hadn't seen in 5 years. They went from, "Hey, long time no see," to "We're official" overnight. The next day, she was moving in with him. After a single day. This, after telling me her apartment was prepaid for 6 months. She'd also told multiple contradictory stories about her roommates. A girl, then a guy, then 3 people, then none because MS-13 was after her. By that point, I finally listened to my friend's advice. Delete her Facebook, delete her number, and never talk to her again. I told her so. She insisted she'd done nothing wrong. Then she blocked me and immediately started spamming me with texts, accusing me of harassment, saying she was going to her lawyer to file charges against me and 3 other guys who flipped out when she dumped them. According to her, I had exactly 1 hour to prove she'd ever done anything malicious, or she'd file for harassment and slander. Red flag #infinity. Final verdict, according to my friends, she was probably homeless, a compulsive liar, heavily on drugs, and desperate for someone to take care of her. Silver lining? I didn't sleep with her. I officially dodged a bullet. Or, more accurately, I avoided sticking my dick in crazy. Story 10. So, I get a craving for some good sashimi from my favorite restaurant in town, so I drive over. "Table for 1, please." The hostess, really cute, seats me and gives me a bit of a look. I shrug it off, start checking work emails, and eat my food in peace. A few minutes later, she walks over and says, "Hey, can I sit with you? I'm on break." Sure, why not? We chat a little, she's flirty, and before leaving she asks if I want to hang out later. She's cute, a bit intense, but I figure why not? That night, around 10 p.m., she calls and asks if I want to go out with her and her friends. I say no, but she insists, says she'll pick me up since my truck's in the shop. I think that's nice of her. Spoiler, it wasn't. It was a trap. She takes me to this massive dance club, totally not my scene, and introduces me to about 10 of her friends. As soon as I meet them, I hear one whisper, "He looks like he could be the one." "Oh, what?" I order a beer to calm my nerves and ask if she wants something. "Oh, I'll get my own," she says, then proceeds to order 5 shots of vodka and downs them all in a row. Now I'm sitting there with a girl whose friends apparently think we're getting married, and she's obliterated. I tell her the place is a bit much, and we should maybe head out. She disappears, comes back with 2 shots of Jameson, and says, "These are for us." At that point, I'm too far in to fight it, so I take them. Last call rolls around, and we head out. She insists on driving. It's only a 5-minute ride back, and I'm drunk and exhausted, so I give in. Big mistake. Instead of heading to my neighborhood, she drives 20 minutes the opposite direction to her parents' house. Great. I have no ride. I'm buzzed, and I'm trapped. We walk inside and she says, "Want some wine?" I'll grab a bottle from the cellar. Turns out her parents own the restaurant I ate at earlier. She comes back with a bottle and says, "I can't find a corkscrew," then smashes the neck off on the counter and pours it anyway. I'm impressed and terrified. "Oh, wait. I need to let my dogs out," she says, and then just opens the cages, lets them run around, and casually watches them poop on the floor. "Pretend you didn't see that," she says. "Then, let's go up to my room. I want to show you something. Do you want some Coke?" No thanks. But sure, I'll come up." At this point, I'm just too tired to fight the chaos. She pulls out a mirror, cuts a few lines, and starts reading me her rehab journals. She's doing Coke, drinking wine, and reading her poetry, all about her ex-husband who turned out to be gay and how she tried everything to make him straight, including, well, things I didn't need to know. It's 5 a.m. I'm drunk, trapped in her parents' house, and listening to this disaster of a first date unravel in real time. Then she puts the wine, the mirror, and the journal down and says, "Can I try something?" At this point, I'm too defeated to care. "Whatever," I say. She climbs on top of me, starts grinding on me, touching herself, and says, "I thought I was scaring you, but I see I'm turning you on. But I don't want to have sex. It's our first date." I tell her I'm exhausted and just want to sleep. I build a fortress of blankets between us and pass out. The next morning, she drives me home and asks if I want to hang out again. I say sure, full sarcasm, and head inside. That night, she calls again and asks if I want to go see Lady Gaga with her, fourth row seats. And honestly, I love Gaga, but for the sake of my sanity, I had to decline. RIP, row 4. Story 11. I'll tell it from the bad date side. We'd never gone out before. She barely even knew me. It was our first date, and honestly, it should have been our last. I picked her up, immediately complimented her, told her how gorgeous she looked, how lucky I was, the usual. Big mistake. She wasn't the kind of woman who liked being objectified, and within 5 minutes, I had already struck out once. Then I took her to my friend's house. It was Christmas break, and he handed me a bottle of Jack Daniels as a gift. I rolled us a couple of joints. Still harmless enough, right? I thought so. We took a few shots, lit up, and then he brought out his antique Soviet sniper rifle. Yeah, that's where things went wrong. It was a Mosin Nagant, old but impressive. We started taking it apart, talking about how cool the hammer and sickle looked on the iron sights and joking about the kind of damage this thing could do from 2 miles out. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed my date sitting completely frozen, looking terrified. And then my buddy, not reading the room at all, pulled out his brand new USP handgun to show off this smooth slide action. At this point, even I knew this was spiraling fast, but there was no going back. In my head, I was thinking, yeah, this looks bad, but I figured, hey, we're just nerdy gamers who love weapons. Surely she'd get that? Wrong. We look like the dictionary definition of redneck danger. Hey, I know you love danger and substance abuse, so here's some whiskey. Oh, and check out my growing arsenal. I think he even pulled out an AK at one point. Eventually, we left, and yes, I drove us after drinking. Illegal, stupid, the whole list. She wanted nothing more than to get back to her car. I should have taken the hint. We stopped at a Burger King drive-thru, and that's when the emotional crash hit me. Between my mom's recent death, the booze, the weed, and the fact that this date was a disaster, I suddenly got introspective, talking about grief, how every relationship I'd had was just a way to fill a void, and how tired I was of pretending to be something I wasn't. The moment was messy, raw, and completely wrong for a first date. I could tell she wanted to bolt. Finally, I just looked at her and said, "The only thing I want from you right now is a hug. Just one hug, and I'll call it a night." Shockingly, she agreed. We hugged for almost a full minute. I thought, God, I needed that. I thanked her, and she just said softly, "You're welcome." Then it all hit me. The weed, the whiskey, the humiliation. I felt completely drained and deeply depressed, but at least I'd been honest. I didn't care that she'd probably never want to see me again. It felt better than pretending to be someone else. She drove off in her little Saturn, and later I heard from her friend that I'd scared her half to death. Can't blame her. I didn't see her again for 2 years. By then, I was in college, sober, more stable, and headed somewhere better. We ran into each other at a coffee shop. I didn't try to impress her, but somehow, I did anyway. We started talking again, and to my surprise, she actually liked me. We've now been together for over 2 years. She understands me better than anyone, and she loves me. Not the polished version, but the real one. Still, what a terrible first date. It's her favorite story to tell. Story 12. Finally, my time to shine. Even if this gets buried, I suffered for these stories, so I'm just happy to finally have a reason to tell them. When I was in my mid to late 20s, I treated online dating like it was my full-time job. It started innocently enough. I had just moved back to town, was a little shy, and wanted to get over my nerves about dating. But after a while, I became a seasoned veteran of the battlefield. I had rules. Don't spend 2 months chatting before meeting. Buy your own drink. Never meet for a full meal. And for the love of sanity, get the first date over with quickly. Story 1. I meet this guy who, on paper, is a dream, smart, decent looking, and, most importantly, a rocket scientist. Actual NASA-level intelligence. Big brains are sexy, right? So we meet up, and the man does not talk. I mean nothing. Just grunts and nods. Trying to have a conversation with him was like pulling teeth from a sleeping bear. I'm desperately trying to fill the silence. Any question, any topic, but he gives me nothing. Finally, I'm ready to bail with the classic, "Oops, I just remembered I have a party to get to" line, when suddenly he perks up. "Hey, my friends are over in insert random tiny town 3 hours away, having an SCA Night Arrows battle. You want to go?" No, I do not want to drive 3 hours into nowhere with a complete stranger to pretend to sword fight in the dirt. I politely decline. There's a moment of silence, and then he says, dead serious, "So, hey, would you put your mouth on it?" I burst out laughing so hard I almost cried, grabbed my bag, and made a very quick exit. I'm pretty sure I heard him grunt the word bitch as I walked away. Story 2. The next gem came a few weeks later. This guy seemed funny and normal. We had a good first date, and by the second one, I was fine with going over to his place for a movie. And, let's be real, probably a little fooling around. So we're making out, things are getting heated, and suddenly, he burps. Totally fine. It happens. We're human. Sex is messy, weird, and hilarious sometimes. But this guy? Oh no. He freezes, pulls away, curls up in the fetal position, and starts rocking back and forth, muttering, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." I try to reassure him, tell him that a burp isn't the end of the world, but he's completely gone, mumbling and shaking like he just committed a felony. At that point, I knew this was not a man who could handle no-holds-barred kind of fun. After 15 minutes of that, I decided I'd seen enough. Rule number 47. Always drive yourself. I went home, met up with my friend for late-night pancakes, and left my phone at home by accident. When I got back later, 50 missed calls. 50. All from Burpee. The voicemail started out apologetic, then slowly descended into rage. The last one, which became an inside joke among my friends, sounded like an angry porn star delivering Shakespeare. "If you had just stayed an hour longer, we could have been there by now. But you didn't. You bitch, and now you've vexed the John. It's not wise to VX the John." He later turned his dating profile into a full-blown rant about me. Good times. Truly. Oh, and as a bonus, there was also that one time I unknowingly went out with a still-married transvestite whose wife was cheating on him with his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, online dating in your 20s. What a ride. Story 13. Well, might as well go ahead and share this one with you lovely people. I'd been messaging a girl on OkCupid for a bit. She seemed fun, easy to talk to, so we decided to meet up for lunch. I drove over to pick her up and texted her when I parked outside. She replied, "Be right out." I figured I'd step out of the car so she could spot me more easily. A few minutes later, I hear, "Hey, Chickenston." I turn around and immediately realize something's off. She looks nothing like her pictures. Easily 60 pounds heavier, different hairstyle, the works. But whatever. Looks aren't everything, and I was already there, so I smiled and rolled with it. We got in the car and headed toward the restaurant. Maybe 10 minutes into the drive, after some light small talk, she suddenly turns to me and asks, "So, Chickenston, where do you see our relationship going?" I kind of laugh awkwardly and say, well, I don't know yet. This is literally our first date." I tell her I'm open to finding a relationship, but that it's way too early to say. She nods, and then, out of nowhere, drops this bomb. "The house you picked me up at isn't actually mine. I'm staying there secretly with my ex-boyfriend and his mom. But the mom doesn't know I'm there, so I have to sneak in and out." Okay, that's a lot. We make it through a painfully awkward lunch full of weird pauses and half-hearted conversation. And as soon as the check comes, she asks, "Can we go to the park for a bit?" I should have said no. I knew I should have said no. But for some reason, I said sure. At the park, she gets a phone call. It's her ex. He tells her his mom came home early and she can't come back for a while. She hangs up, clearly upset, and turns to me with teary eyes. "Chickenston, can I stay with you tonight? I really want to be your woman." I'm completely stunned but somehow manage to say, no, that's not a good idea. I don't think I'm comfortable with that." I offer to drop her off at a Starbucks instead. I excuse myself to use the restroom and frantically text all my friends. "Call me now. Say you're locked out of the apartment and need help." My brain's in full survival mode. A few minutes later, one of my friends calls. I answer, act all concerned, and tell her, "Hey, I gotta go, my roommate's locked out." Then I turn to my date and say I'll take her to Starbucks before heading home. We pull up to the Starbucks parking lot, and she turns to me again, eyes wide, voice trembling, and says, "Please, can I stay with you tonight? I just want to be your woman." I tell her no, as gently as I can. And that's when she breaks down. Not just crying, sobbing. Loud, messy, uncontrollable. I sit there frozen, trying to figure out what to do, when I suddenly notice a smell. A very strong smell. I look down and realize she's just peed herself in the passenger seat. Full on, no doubt about it. At that point, I calmly, okay, maybe not calmly, ask her to get out of the car. She does, still crying, and I drive straight to a gas station to clean up. And that, my friends, was the day I learned that sometimes being polite can cost you way more than just an awkward lunch. Story 14. First date with my ex. He picked me up from my house, and we drove literally 1 block to his friend's place. He got out, went straight to the backyard, and started yelling, "Tony." No answer. He got annoyed, stomped back to the car, and we left. I had no clue what was going on or what this date was supposed to be. After a while of driving around aimlessly, he finally pulled up to the local bowling alley. "I took the back way because I wanted it to be a surprise," he said proudly. Yeah, pretty sure he just got lost. We start bowling. Game 1, I win. He says he let me win to be nice. Game 2, I win again. Game 3, he's sweating, cursing, and trying way too hard to beat me. Every gutter ball came with a new swear word. I teased him and asked if he wanted the bumpers up, total joke, and he just sat down, sulking. I win Game 3. I mentioned that I used to be on a bowling league and was actually really good. He doesn't respond. We leave. Next stop, Chinese food. Things are going fine until he goes up for a drink refill. The cashier tells him it's a 15-cent charge, clearly written on a sign right in front of him. He flips out, refuses to pay, and storms off. I hadn't even finished my food. Then, instead of taking me home, he drives back to his friend's house and yells, "Tony," again from the backyard. No answer again. Turns out he'd wanted to finish some video game they were playing earlier, but couldn't because Tony wasn't home. With nothing else to do, he drove me the 1 block back to my house. That was our entire first date. And yes, somehow, we dated for a year and a half after that. Bonus story, the Valentine's Day breakup. At the time, I was working long shifts as a waitress, always on my feet. I got off work exhausted, and on the way home got a text from him saying, "Hurry up and get ready." I told him I wanted to shower and rest a bit, and I'd be ready around 9. He said I needed to be ready sooner. No explanation. He picked me up, completely silent the whole drive. We pull up to BJ's, it's packed, and I say, "Looks busy, we're not going to get a table." He snaps back, "I had a reservation, but you weren't ready on time." We start arguing. He's mad we missed the reservation. I'm mad because I didn't even know about it. Plus, I was probably going to have to pay anyway since I was the only one with a job. His parents didn't like me, so they never gave him money. At one point, he starts punching the steering wheel. I've had enough. I jump out of the car, run toward a closed-down furniture store, and call a coworker to come get me. My ex runs after me, but I yell at him to stay away and tell him he's never seeing me again. My coworker, who was literally on a date himself, leaves it to pick me up. The next day, I went to his house to get my stuff. I gave him back his promise ring. He actually said, "Hopefully the next girl will appreciate it more." I told him it wasn't smart to give that ring to anyone else. Later, while I was at work, he texted me, "Give me some time, and then we can be friends." I never responded and haven't spoken to him since. Oh, and the coworker who picked me up that night? Yeah, he did have feelings for me. We eventually started dating. Not a rebound. We've been together 5 years now and are getting married next year. And yes, I know needless to say is the phrase. But hey, I was venting. Story 15. Let's talk about Lily. Lily was one of maybe half a dozen OkCupid hookups I had that year. To set the scene, I didn't really take OkCupid seriously anymore. I'd made a second account while recovering from knee surgery and only used it whenever I got bored. One night, I get a few profile views and an unexpected message from a girl named Lily. She lived about an hour away, and we started chatting about random stuff. She was clearly trying hard to impress me. Good grammar, flirty energy, but honestly, I found her kind of dull. We weren't even a high match percentage, and she just seemed too eager, which, ironically, can be a red flag. Still, we swapped numbers, no idea why, and within minutes she starts sending me nudes. A whole gallery, clearly pre-saved. I wasn't attracted to her at all. She was only 25, but looked much older, and not in a mature beauty kind of way. The conversation fizzled fast after that, and we only texted once or twice in the next couple of weeks. At one point, she told me to stop messaging her because she didn't like men in uniform. Fine by me. A few days later, she messages me again. Then, one night around 2 a.m., my phone buzzes. Half asleep, I check it. Hey, what are you doing? We chat a bit, me explaining that I'm literally in bed. She says she's bored. Turns out, she's a stripper, which, apparently, was her stage name too, and she's asking if she can drive the hour to my house to hang out. I hesitate. Then, like an idiot, I say yes. She shows up nearly 3 hours later, around 5 in the morning, in stripper heels and a shiny, cheap-looking dress that smells like cigarettes, sweat, and regret. She says she got pulled over on the way and starts ranting about how the cops always harass her for no reason. She's also about 3 inches taller than she said she was. We go inside, and she immediately demands a beer. I hand her a Bud Light. She chugs it, and says, "Let's get to it." We go upstairs, and before anything happens, she starts scolding me for just assuming we were going to hook up. I'm sitting there like, "You drove 3 hours at 5 a.m. to my house in heels and asked for a beer." She starts roasting my bedroom decor, makes fun of my police scanner when it goes off, and goes on another rant about how much she hates cops. Then she casually tells me how she flunked out of Marine boot camp, has a kid, a baby daddy, a sugar daddy, and lives off her mentally ill father, but works as a stripper for fun. I figure I've heard enough and try to shut her up with a kiss. Big mistake. It's bad. I mean horrible. She's basically suctioning my entire face like an octopus, yanking on my hair, just pure chaos. She unzips my pants, and I think, okay, maybe this will redeem the night. Nope, it gets worse. Her technique was like someone who learned everything about intimacy from a crash test dummy. She's jamming her teeth and throat into me, and I'm literally wincing, begging her to stop. I think she liked that. Then she gets on the bed, pulls off her underwear, and says, "My turn, bitch." At this point, I'm so far into the nightmare, I might as well see it through. I go down on her, and instantly regret it. The smell hits me first. Then I realize she has the most unusual anatomy I've ever seen. It's not something I can describe nicely. She starts giving me instructions, slapping the back of my head, tugging my hair, criticizing my every move like she's coaching a sports team. Then, in the middle of it all, she farts in my face. Yes, farts. In my face. And laughs about it. I'm done. Fully mortified. She shoves me back and says, "Are you going to fuck me or what?" So fine. I go along with it, and it's just as awful as you'd imagine. She won't stop moving, switching positions every 10 seconds, complaining about my bad leg from my old military injury, saying I can't do what she likes. Then she announces, "I'll just do it myself." She climbs on top, lets out a loud, deliberate queef. Yes, on purpose. That literally sprays me. I can't even process what's happening. After about a minute, she hops off and says, "Okay, I'm all set." She starts throwing her clothes on and says, "Nice meeting you. Don't ever text me again." Slams my door and leaves. I just stand there in shock. Then, about half an hour later, I get a text from her. "You're such a great guy. Take care." I never replied. Deleted her number immediately. Not sure if it technically counts as a date, but it was definitely the worst encounter of my life. Story 16. Junior prom. A few weeks before the big night, one of, if not the prettiest girls in school still didn't have a date. I knew she'd broken up with her boyfriend not too long ago, so I figured she was probably holding out for him. But since it was a small school, most people had already paired up. One day, I finally worked up the courage to ask her if she'd like to go with me. We'd talked casually in the hallways a few times before, but nothing that suggested she was actually into me. Honestly, I didn't think I stood a chance. To my complete surprise, she said yes. In the weeks leading up to prom, I started seeing her a bit more, stopping by her work after school or on weekends. One day she mentioned she was having a rough day, so I sent her flowers to cheer her up. It was a cheesy move, but I was that kind of guy back then the nice guy who quietly falls for a girl while she's busy thinking about someone else. Then prom night finally came. Dinner was catered, the music was playing, everyone was dressed to the nines, and she barely spoke a word. Not to me, not to anyone at our table. She just seemed distant, distracted, somewhere else entirely. As the night went on, I started feeling pretty defeated. When the dancing started, I took a short break outside to collect myself, then came back in right as the first slow song began. I figured, hey, at least we can share one nice moment. We start dancing, and halfway through the song, out of nowhere, her ex shows up. The same arrogant jerk she'd just broken up with. He walks straight up to us, cuts in without hesitation, and says he's taking over. She doesn't even protest. She just smiles and lets him. And that was it. She spent the rest of the night glued to him, laughing, dancing, acting like I'd never existed. Our school had a tradition of taking a group trip after prom, kind of an unofficial after-party, and she and I had both signed up for the same one. A theme park trip. I thought maybe things would be less awkward then. Spoiler, they weren't. Her ex came along too. They sat together on the bus, spent the entire day wrapped around each other, and she didn't say a single word to me. To top it all off, I paid for everything. Her prom ticket, the photos, the trip. The only thing she covered was her dress. When it was all said and done, I realized she hadn't said yes to me. She just needed a way in. She was a sophomore, and the rule was that underclassmen could only go if they were invited by an upperclassman. I was good enough for that, at least. And that's kind of how it's always felt since then. Not the guy she wants, just the one who's good enough. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, activate the notification bell, and share a similar story or anything you'd like to say in the comments. See you next time.